Today I'm doing a collection update where I'll be going over all the movies I've picked up on 4K and Blu-ray over the last couple months. So let's rock. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz. So yes, it is time for another collection update video. I usually try to do these updates every couple months or so once I've accumulated enough titles to make it worthy of doing a video for you guys. This time though, it's been a little bit longer. I actually waited a couple extra weeks to do this update because there were a few specific titles that I was anxious to talk about, and I was waiting for them to be released, right? So they did finally come out. And I will be discussing those today. So I'll be going over all the 4K and Blu-ray titles that I picked up since about the middle of September. So pretty big update here, a lot of titles to touch on. And the way I usually do this is I go over all the titles I picked up on Blu-ray first, and then I'll move on to the 4K titles I picked up during the second half of the video. So let's get right into this haul here. The first title I wanted to talk about was recommended to me by several people watching the channel after my last video on Christmas action movies. A lot of people talking about Fat Man, and so I did pick that up. I took your advice, your recommendations. I snagged it and I watched it, and I really liked it. Little Mel Gibson action here. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a whole lot of later career Mel Gibson films. I think I've seen Dragged Across Concrete, and what was it called? Edge of Darkness, and I think there's one other about a gringo or something, but I haven't seen that many later career Mel Gibson films. I've always liked Mel. I always liked his early works, of course, the Lethal Weapon movies and whatnot, but this is a great film. I really enjoyed it. I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of a Christmas action film, but it's also, I think you could make the case it's also kind of a dark comedy. So, you know, seeing a film like this, I couldn't help but feel like Mel Gibson still has it, right? He still got the goods. He still got his acting chops. And it does kind of seem like whenever you see a Mel Gibson film, even later on in his career, he does tend to elevate anything he's in. And I've noticed that with this film and a couple of the other ones I just mentioned as well that I'd seen. So yeah, it was really cool seeing Mel do his thing again here, especially not having really seen a whole lot of his films in recent years. So I had a lot of fun with this one, and it will definitely go into my regular Christmas rotation, I believe, each year. So thanks for the recommendations to those of you out there that recommended this one to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Next up is a film that I hadn't seen since the 80s, but I used to love this film, and I watched it all the time back in the 80s, and that is Taps from 1981. This is an excellent film with George C. Scott, Timothy Hutton, early performances from Tom Cruise and Sean Penn in this one. Really good film. Now, I'll admit, this is a little bit different than the usual type of film I discuss on this channel. This isn't not like an action film or anything like that. This one really does kind of lean a little bit more towards the drama side. I don't think you could even really call it an action drama, although it is a very compelling and engaging film, and it's just an awesome movie. I've always loved this film, and if you've never seen it, it's excellent. It really is. I'd highly recommend it. It's about a boys' military academy that is in the process of being shut down, or so they find out, and they don't take kindly to that, so they fight back and they resist that by any means necessary, including with arms. So it is a really, really engaging and compelling story, like I said. I've always been a big fan of Timothy Hutton. He did some great roles that back in the 80s. This film, The Falcon and the Snowman, Turk 182. I've always loved Timothy Hutton. So, you know, it was cool to revisit this one. Now, I believe this may actually be out of print or just kind of hard to find. I don't know if these are being pressed anymore. I mean, it's not hard to find, but you may have to pay a little bit extra to get it used. I did get a good deal on a used copy just through an Amazon third-party seller, but it was like the only copy that particular seller had at that price. So, but yeah, if you've never seen Taps, I'd highly recommend it. Excellent film, and yeah, check it out. Next up, I added another William Friedkin film to my collection, one I'd heard a lot about but I'd never seen, and that is Sorcerer from 1977. starring Roy Scheider. This was a really good film, kind of a gritty film. It's a film about a group of guys that are in this situation where they have to transport a truck full of nitroglycerin across a South American jungle. So really interesting film, and great ending on this too. I absolutely love the ending, but I don't want to say, of course, too much about it. Don't want to give anything away, but I've really been starting to get into William Friedkin's movies a little bit more. I've always liked The Exorcist, of course, but some of his other movies I hadn't really seen up until this year, like To Live and Die in LA. Well, this was another one, and I really enjoyed it. A great film. I'd highly recommend it if you like William Friedkin, but you've never seen this one, and which was the boat I was in here last week. Yeah, I would highly recommend checking this out. It's a great film, and if you like William Friedkin's style, his kind of gritty, down and dirty, realistic approach to filmmaking, then I would definitely recommend checking this one out if you've never seen it. Great film, and it was a first-time watch for me, but I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I've been getting into William Friedkin stuff a little bit more lately. So yeah, Sorcerer, awesome film. Check it out if you've never seen it. Next up, I picked up the ultimate RoboCop documentary, and that is RoboDoc. This thing is amazing. I absolutely love this documentary. Well, first of all, I'm a big fan of documentaries in general. You know, whenever there's like a feature-length documentary included as like a bonus feature on a disc or whatnot, I'm always all in on that kind of stuff. Love making of and retrospective documentaries, and this really is like the ultimate making of documentary for a film. This thing is like 4.5 hours long. It's completely comprehensive. It covers every aspect of this film, and you know, it's got interviews with all the key players. It's just a really good documentary, and I was just blown away by how good this turned out. So if you're a fan of RoboCop and you're a fan of making of documentaries, I would highly recommend picking this one up. This is, in fact, I would say it's a must-own for any fan of RoboCop. I really do believe that. So I would say this is a far better documentary than just about any other documentary I have seen on this film. And I've got, you know, a couple different versions of the film. I've seen a number of different making ofs and retrospectives, and this is easily the best one on this subject that we've ever seen. So, yeah, if you're a fan of RoboCop and you're a fan of making of documentaries, you definitely want to pick this one up at some point. Moving on next to a Vestron release, I picked up the new release for Blue Steel, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ron Silver. And I'll be honest, I've never been the biggest Ron Silver fan. I've never really even understood why he was ever even a thing, to be honest. But I do love Jamie Lee, and I think this is a decent film. It's you know, it's kind of it's a action crime drama, you know, with a killer on the loose, right? So I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, this is a fun film directed by Catherine Bigelow. So, you know, there's some bona fides right there. So if you like Catherine Bigelow's style, this very much kind of follows in that same vein as some of her other movies in terms of the aesthetic and how it looks and whatnot. So I think she's a great director, and I was happy to add this one to my collection. So yeah, Blue Steel. Next up, I also picked up The Challenge. Little Kino Lorber release here. This just came out in the last couple weeks, I believe. And Scott Glenn here in the lead role. I always liked Scott Glenn. He's done some great stuff. This kind of dabbles in the whole ninja, samurai, martial arts thing a little bit, but it's also, you know, it's also kind of an action crime drama. So it's not just swords and martial arts. There's some guns in there too. But I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a good film. No complaints or regrets at all picking this one up. It was a first-time watch for me. I'd never seen it before. I'd never even heard of it before this release. So it was really new to me. But I really enjoyed it. And so yeah, if you like Scott Glenn and you're a fan of early 80s action movies, this might be one you want to consider picking up at some point. I certainly have no regrets at all adding it to my collection. I had a lot of fun watching this one, and I look forward to returning to it in the coming years. So no regrets at all picking this one up. Fun film. Next up, another couple films that came recommended to me, and I can't remember by who. Again, I'm sorry. I'm terrible about remembering who recommends what to me. But it might have been Dennis at the Blue Corner. Is that you that recommended Ninja and Ninja 2? I can't remember. So, but I really enjoyed these. Scott Adkins, I had never seen any of his work in the martial arts field, of course. So I wanted to check out Scott Adkins and see what his groove was like, right? Really enjoyed these films. Great films. I think I actually liked the first one a little bit more than the second one. I've heard others say they liked the second one more than the first, but they were both good. Really enjoyed them. So if you're looking for some good, just kick-ass martial arts ninja action, then you definitely can't go wrong with these films. Now, the only downside to this particular release is that, once again, you have 2 movies on a single Blu-ray disc. So you're not going to get the best encode with these films. That said, it still looked fine. It was certainly enjoyable. I didn't have any problems with it. You know, I didn't expect that much because I knew this was kind of a budget set. But I'm never a big fan when studios do that, when they put 2 movies on a single disc. But anyway, fun films, and if you've never seen these ninja films, definitely check them out. And continuing on with the ninja stuff, we got the great Sho Kosugi in Pray for Death. I'm on a Sho Kosugi kick. Pick this one up, and I have Rage of Honor coming too. The Arrow Blu-ray of Rage of Honor is on its way. It unfortunately just didn't arrive in time for me to do this video, but I really liked Pray for Death. Sho Kosugi is just absolutely mesmerizing to watch. When he gets into his groove, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I thought this was a well-done film, and I'm definitely on a Sho Kosugi kick and looking to add more titles that he was in to my collection. So had to get Pray for Death, right? And next up, I picked up a few titles from the MBD shop during their Black Friday sale. And boy, did they have some killer deals on Blu-rays. They had Blu-rays, decent titles that were like anywhere from like $5 to $8 each. I mean, that's a total steal. So the first one I picked up was the Delta Force. Chuck Norris, a standalone Blu-ray of the Delta Force. This is one that, well, I guess I should mention the other one I picked up too. Also picked up Lone Wolf McQuade, a standalone version. And when I say standalone, what I mean is I wanted these updated transfers and scans as opposed to this crappy old MGM like triple feature that's like 10 years old, right? Not the best scans on this. It was a cheap set that I picked up some time ago before I'd ever even seen any of these films. So, but I've since come to regard both Delta Force and Lone Wolf McQuade as my favorite Chuck Norris movies. Now, I mentioned these movies in the De-Horrorize Yourself video I did about a month and a half ago. And of course, I was talking about this 3-pack I had here. But Scorpion Releasing put these out. And they did new 2K scans of the Inner Positive in 2020. So I wanted to get these films in the best quality possible with the most updated restoration or scan available. And I wanted standalone releases. Now, I was hoping I'd get a slipcover with these, but for the price I paid, I mean, this was like $4.99, and I think this was like $5.99. So it really was a steal to pick these up. And for that price, I'm not going to complain that I didn't get a slipcover. I'm just happy to have the, as of to date, what seems to be the best versions of these available. So, yeah, I was excited to pick up a little Chuck. Also picked up a Bronson film, little Charles Bronson, The Mechanic. Now, this is a film I've never seen before. I've heard great things about it. I do have the remake with Jason Statham and the sequel to that remake. And those were fun, but I've always meant to get around to seeing this original because I've heard good things about it. So, and this was a really good deal too. I think this was only like $5 or $6. So, just amazing prices during the MBD Black Friday sale. Also picked up Denzel Washington, Out of Time. Now, this is a Denzel film that I've been meaning to add to my collection for a while. And if you can believe it, this was $4.99 on Blu-ray with a slipcover. I couldn't believe I actually got a slipcover for this one. So, but yeah, $4.99 with a slipcover for a Denzel film. You can't go wrong with that, right? And I've mentioned before, Denzel is like my favorite actor, right? I love Denzel. This is one of those titles that I've been meaning to add to my collection for a number of years, and I just never got around to it. I've seen the movie. I enjoy the movie. It's a great movie. It's got kind of a noir murder mystery kind of deal going on. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's probably been close to 20 years since I've seen this movie. Maybe not quite that long, but yeah, great film. And so if you've never seen Out of Time and you're a fan of Denzel, you definitely want to consider picking this one up at some point. And then the last MBD shop Blu-ray I got was Split Second, Rutger Hauer film. I've never seen this one. This was a blind buy, and I've heard good things about it. It looked like it would be right up my alley. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do dig Rutger Hauer and love these kind of 80s, exploitation films. So this might actually be a early 90s one. What year did this come out? Oh yeah, this is 92. Sorry. But early 90s, 80s exploitation, always good stuff. And, Rutger Hauer always delivers. So I expect this one to be a pretty fun ride. If you've seen this one, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it because I really don't know much about this at all. Just kind of briefly read the synopsis and was like, okay, yeah, that might be for me. So looking forward to checking it out, though. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell as well, so you can be alerted whenever I'm posting content that you might be interested in. Also, don't forget to like the video as well. It really does help with the channel's visibility out there and the algorithm. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Okay, so that about covers the Blu-rays I picked up during this cycle, but let's move on to the 4K releases now. The first one was one I've been super excited about, and it just came out yesterday, or at least relative to when I recorded this video. Point Break on 4K. This was a day one purchase for me, easily. I've been clamoring for this one to come out on 4K ever since we got Roadhouse on 4K from Vinegar Syndrome, right? I've been saying for the last year that this would be a perfect companion piece, a perfect companion film to sit on the shelf next to my Roadhouse box set. Now, granted, I'll admit that I was kind of hoping Vinegar Syndrome would get this and we'd actually get a cool VSU box set treatment for this one as well, but it wasn't to be. We got it from Shout Studios. So I checked this out last night. I wasn't going to wait on watching this. I popped it in right off the bat and really enjoyed it. It is the best this film has ever looked on home media. Definitely blows away the old Blu-ray. The old Blu-ray of this just was not a very good release, and this 4K absolutely blows it out of the water. I've never been impressed with that old Blu-ray. So now I'm not going to say this is like a reference disc or anything like that, but they did do a good job with this restoration. I think this is probably the best the film has ever looked on home media. With the HDR and the wider color gamut, of course, you get a lot more depth and pop to the image on 4K here than we ever got on that old Blu-ray. So, such a great film, so much fun, and I think this 4K was long overdue. I was just super excited to receive it. So if you haven't checked out Point Break on 4K yet, definitely make sure you grab your copy, because to me, this is one of those must-own films for any action film fan. Yesterday, I also received Titanic on 4K. This is a big one, of course. James Cameron. I'm not even the hugest Titanic fan. As far as James Cameron films go, this is probably my least favorite James Cameron film. But because James Cameron is one of my favorite directors, I had to get it, right? And plus, there's like 15 hours of bonus features on this. I haven't had a chance to watch this yet. I have heard just amazing things about the restoration. I hear it just looks incredible on 4K. I have heard this is a reference disc, or damn near reference quality. And there's a new documentary and so much good stuff on here. So I'm really excited to check out Titanic at some point and see how the transfer turned out. Even though I'm one of those guys that really doesn't get into the love story that much. And I'm not a big Leonardo DiCaprio fan, so I think that has something to do with it. But man, getting into the second part of the film, when we get into the devastation and destruction, yeah, I'm all there for that. So looking forward to checking this one out in the near future. I also picked up a movie called Plane on 4K with Gerard Butler. This is a good film, an enjoyable ride. You know, it's a pretty basic story. There's not a whole lot of complexity to this one, but it's just a really entertaining film. Gerard Butler is a pilot that encounters some bad weather, has to crash land on an island, and there are some issues on the island. And I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, fun action, suspense thriller film, and really well acted. And I had no complaints about this one at all. I'm glad I added it to my collection. I could see myself returning to this one, you know, every few years or maybe every 5 years or something like that. So, but if you haven't seen Plane, yeah, check it out. It's a good film. And of course, I had to get my copy of Oppenheimer. I haven't even seen the film yet. I didn't see it in theaters. My son is really into this film. He loves it. He saw it in the theater, and of course, he wanted it. As soon as he heard it was coming on 4K, it's like he definitely wanted it. So I managed to get my my slip-covered unit here, and he was really excited about that. I still haven't had a chance to check it out yet, though. I will get around to it at some point. I'm sure it's an incredible film. I just have to be in the mood to watch a film with this kind of subject matter, right? So, but yeah, I'm happy that I picked up Oppenheimer, and I'm looking forward to checking out the special features. In fact, in many ways, I'm almost looking forward to the documentary more than the film itself. But, you know, it's just kind of how I am. It's the subject matter of the film. It's like, it's interesting, but like I said, I have to be in the right mood for it. But I'm always a fan of film documentaries, regardless of the film. So, definitely looking forward to checking out the special features on this as well. Next up, I also picked up The Fugitive on 4K. Had to do it. This was another one of those must-own titles, you know, from the 90s. Classic 90s action thriller. Harrison Ford here and Tommy Lee Jones, of course. Great film all the way around. I haven't had a chance to check this out yet. I did pop it on the other day, and I started to watch it, but I got distracted, had to go do something else, and haven't been able to get back to it yet. But I've heard great things about the transfer, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the whole thing so that I can give it a proper evaluation. I've heard great things about the transfer on this. Another really strong 4K presentation, and it's just a really well done film all the way around. So yeah, if you haven't seen The Fugitive before, and it looks like something that might be up your alley, give it a try at some point. I also did pick up a couple steelbooks, the first one of which is Godzilla 98, the Roland Emmerich film. If I'm being honest, I'm not sure I would make this same purchase again. You know, let me explain here. I hadn't seen this film since it first came out in the 90s, so I really didn't remember it very well. But I've been a big fan of Godzilla and the MonsterVerse, the legendary films and whatnot, and so I didn't know what I was going to think of this, but I do like Roland Emmerich's films, and I have most of his other films, so I wanted to kind of complete my Roland Emmerich collection and pick this one up. But I was thinking I might enjoy it more than I actually did. It's just, yeah, this one's not that great of a film. It's okay, it's watchable, but you know, I thought I would like it more than I did. I seem to remember liking it more back in the 90s than I actually ended up liking it this time. So, and honestly, I don't think the Steelbook is all that impressive. You know, it's okay, but compared to some of my other steelbooks, this one just doesn't quite measure up. So if I had to do it over again, I might not have picked this one up. You know, I got Roland Emmerich fever, and I probably wasn't thinking very clearly. But either way, it's mine now, and you know, at least I have the Roland Emmerich collection, right? So I think part of the problem with this is the early CGI in the late 90s. It just doesn't translate to 4K very well. And but you know, if you're a fan of Godzilla, I mean, some of you might be fans of this film out there, and so maybe this is for you. But this is one I probably won't return to all that often. You know, I could see myself maybe returning to this in like 10 years or something. But otherwise, yeah. So this is, of everything I purchased during this cycle, this is probably the only one I have maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse for. So, but you know, that's the way it goes, right? That's part of life of being a collector, right? However, the next steelbook I got, I loved, and it was a Groove exclusive, and that is Duel, Steven Spielberg's first film. I really enjoyed this, and the transfer looked awesome. This was another film I had never seen before prior to picking this up. And I don't know how I missed it all these years, but anyway, I did really enjoy this film. The 4K, the visuals, the transfer looks amazing. The restoration, it looks really good. A lot of pop in the colors, a lot of depth, and just a good film all the way around. And this steelbook was a reasonably decent price. I think it was under 20 bucks. I mean, I got it for that. I don't know if it is now, but I got it for like less than $20. So got to give points to Groove for making a steelbook available for a reasonable price on 4K, right? So, but yeah, really enjoyed this film. If you've never seen it, you might want to check it out at some point. Okay, and then finally, I have a few Arrow video releases on 4K that I was super excited to get my hands on. The first one was Black Hat. Now, this one I have heard, I hadn't seen the film before watching this, right? So this was a blind buy for me, but I'm a big Michael Mann fan. Heat is one of my all-time favorite films. I love Collateral, so I love Thief, right? So yeah, I had to check this one out. I had heard a lot of people say they didn't really like the theatrical version, that they didn't think it was that great of a movie, and that the director's cut was way better. And they did include the director's cut on this, not on 4K, on a separate Blu-ray, but at least they included it. However, when I went into this, I did watch this, and when I went into it, I decided to just watch the 4K disc. I didn't want to start with the director's cut. I wanted to see the full meal deal in 4K, like how the full 4K restoration looked and whatnot. And honestly, I was not disappointed at all. I thought this was a really good film. I didn't have a problem with the theatrical cut at all. Next time I watch this, I will definitely check out the director's cut. And I know what scenes or some of the scenes that were moved around in the director's cut. So I'm aware of how they changed the director's cut, at least to some degree. But honestly, I did not have a problem with the theatrical cut at all. I think it looks great on 4K. I think it's got all that classic kind of feel and aesthetic of a Michael Mann movie. It looks like a Michael Mann movie. It looks like if you mixed the aesthetics of Collateral with Heat, that's essentially what this film looked like to me. It very much had Michael Mann's signature style. So yeah, good 4K disc. I haven't had a chance to watch the director's cut yet. That'll be next time. Some great bonus features on here too that I have also not had a chance to watch yet, but they look very interesting. So I'm excited to check those out. And yeah, Black Hat from Arrow. Also picked up Carlito's Way. Got the nice rigid slipcase, also known as the chunky box in many collecting circles. A lot of us collectors use that terminology. And yeah, this is, I love Brian De Palma. This was a double dip for me. This is one of those rare cases where I actually double dipped. And if you've seen my recent video on collectible packaging where I talked about that, you know what I'm talking about. You know I don't do that very often. But in this case, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to get this title in a nice, thick, chunky box set. Now keep in mind, this is the same transfer as the Universal release, so there really isn't a whole lot that's all that different about the actual transfer of the film, the restoration of the film. It's the same restoration, same transfer. Universal basically provided it to Arrow, and that's what they stuck on a disc. But you do get some special features and whatnot. And, just for the opportunity to have this film in a really nice edition, a definitive edition, if you will, yeah, I had to do it. And I'm really glad I picked this up. The 4K looks great, no complaints at all. And so, yeah, if you haven't picked this one up yet, or if you've never seen this film, this is definitely one worth checking out if you're a fan of like the gangster type film. Although this isn't, I don't know if we could call this a gangster film per se. I mean, but it kind of has some of that same vibe. So yeah, Carlito's Way on 4K. Great stuff. And then finally, I also picked up the Tremors 2 Aftershocks 4K box set from Arrow. Again, another chunky box with all the good stuff in it. Love this art. Absolutely love this art. I love the green. It's so cool. As soon as I saw this, I knew I had to have it. And what's interesting about that, and this is going to be bugging the shit out of me for a long time, is that I never picked up the limited edition chunky box for the first one. So that's probably going to be something that really eats away at me for a while. Because when I first got this was literally, let me back up here. This was only the second disc I ever got from Arrow, right? So I didn't really know anything about Arrow. I didn't really know anything about their cool limited edition slipcase chunky boxes. All I knew is that this was a title. I was looking for something new to watch in 4K, and I was looking for old movies that I hadn't seen in a while. At the time when I picked this up, I hadn't seen this film probably since the 90s, right? And I remembered liking it, but I wasn't so attached to it that I felt like I had to go all in and get the, get a full definitive edition, right? And if you watched my video on collectible packaging, again, you know that there was a time when I didn't really appreciate collectible packaging to the extent that I do now. I didn't used to care about that. When I picked this first one up, I was just looking to save money and get the cheapest or least expensive version available. And so now I'm kicking myself because since then, I've become a huge fan of the chunky slipcase box from Arrow, right? I love these editions, and any chance I get to pick up a film I like in these limited edition slipcase boxes, I absolutely do. But now they don't match. Now I got this shit. I mean, so this is going to bug me. At the same time, I'm not willing to pay what I would call scalper prices to double dip, and pay $100 or however much it would cost to get that box set now. So what I'm thinking I'm probably going to do, because it's going to, like I said, it's going to bug the shit out of me that this stays like that, until I do something about it. It's probably going to bug me because I absolutely love this. I knew I had to have this. Just the art is so cool. And I've never even seen the second film. This is something I bought almost purely because of the packaging and because, of course, I had the first film and really like it. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is just keeping my eyes peeled for maybe a lightly used chunky box out there on the used market for a reasonable price. Maybe one of these days I'll eventually come across one for a reasonable price that I'm willing to pay, and I'll kind of rectify this little mismatch right here. But until that day comes, I'm just going to have to be satisfied with the standard edition release. And look, it's not like this is a bad release. This has got the exact same disc, the same special features, the same content. So the only thing I'm missing here is the collectible packaging. But this is a title that I can tell it's really gonna bug me until I eventually suck it up and get a limited edition box to match this one. So haven't had a chance to watch this yet. I've heard good things about it. Really looking forward to it. So yeah, Tremors 2 Aftershocks. That was my last 4K that I picked up during this cycle. Okay, so that about wraps up all my new pickups, my haul from the last couple months on 4K and Blu-ray disc. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I always love hearing your feedback. Did you guys pick up any of these titles? And if so, what did you think of them? So yeah, make sure you drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and all that good stuff if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. I'll see you soon.